Today I am going to discuss about the environmental chemistry, the future and the present and the future perspectives. Before going into environmental chemistry, I just want to take a deep knowledge about environmental science, because as we know that the environmental chemistry is a very important part of environmental studies. So we have to have a knowledge about environmental science or environmental studies. So our first question is, what is an environmental science, or what is environmental studies deals with? For definition, we are having the definition here, that is, it deals with the sum of all social, economical, biological, physical and chemical interrelations with our surroundings. With our surroundings means it is actually the environment. So here you can see that there is a close relation between chemical interactions with our surroundings. So the study of environmental science is very important in a vast senses, because you can see that especially in an era of modern time, you can see that the importance of environmental science is very important, because we have to disseminate the importance of nature and mother nature and environment to our youth people. So what is actually the importance of environmental science, and thereby what is the importance of environmental science is our question. So actually environmental science is very important in this aspect, because we have to have a very good knowledge about environment and what are the phenomena that are taking place in our environment, so that we are able to keep our mother earth more greener. So this is actually definition of environmental science. So there is a relation between different types of aspects, even it is physical, chemical or even political aspects, a relation between these aspects with our environment. So why it is so important? So or why the environment study is so important? Because we are actually in everyday life, we are dealing with different activities. So these type of different activities can cause some impact on our environment. So for example, taking a silly case, we are just buying a candy and we are directly throwing the cover of the candy into the environment. It is having an impact on the environment. Similarly, internationally, if we are burning the plastic in our household, it will causes the emission of a lot of types of gases, harmful gases into the environment. This can also create some impact on the environment. So we are doing something that can be a minor thing or major thing. All these things can cause a deep impact on our environment. So we must have to have some knowledge about our activity and how it will causes, what are the impacts of these activities on the environment. We must have a thorough knowledge about it. So before going into the environmental chemistry, we have to have a bigger knowledge about environmental science. So what is its basic importance of studying environmental science? We have to have environmental literacy. First of all, we must have to create some environmental literacy among our youth, so that we can convert them into a bigger warrior who will save our environment, and they must have some love towards our mother nature. So first of all, I just want to say that we have to create a bigger impact, or we have to disseminate the love towards nature through a thorough knowledge about our environment. So we are dealing with environmental chemistry. Today I just want to talk about environmental chemistry. So first of all, what is the relation between chemistry and environment? Because we know that the chemical species which are directly or which are continuously emitting into the environment through different processes, whether it can be industrial or even households. So these chemical species are being thrown into the atmosphere, which can cause a serious threat to our environment. So this is what the importance of environmental chemistry, and we have to go for the definition also. What is environmental chemistry? This is actually, it deals with the study of the chemical species right from its origin, its transport, its reactions, its effects, and finally the fate of these chemical species in the environment. And all of us know that all these chemical species are having a lot of impact on the environment. So we need a correct sort of management of these chemical species, so that we can save or we can conserve our nature in a better manner. So environmental chemistry usually deals with the study of chemical species that are being emitted into the environment. So these chemical species are being emitted into the environment, and it will cause environmental pollution. So what do you mean by pollution? This is the definition for environmental pollution. These are actually the emission of different types of unwanted species into the environment, and that will cause a serious and harmful effects on all the living organisms present in our environment. So the correct mitigation or correct management of these type of chemical species are very important. How can we do that? That is the question. How can we do that? Means we can do it through thorough knowledge about the environmental chemistry, and through the correct knowledge of environmental chemistry we are able to understand the environment in a better way, and we will get a clear-cut solution to how to mitigate this type of chemical species. So this is what the significance of environmental chemistry, and also the environmental chemistry is one of the major part of environmental science. As all of you know that these chemical species are causing different types of pollutions in the environment. So we the chemistry people can give a better scientific way to prevent or to conserve our environment in a better way. Coming to pollution, we have explained the different aspects of pollution. So our first question is, where are the pollution is causing? Which part of the earth or which part of our environment is causing the pollution? So our environment can be divided into basically into 4 parts. Especially we can directly divide it into 3 parts. First part is what is called the atmosphere, that is the air part, and second part is called lithosphere, where the soil part comes, and third part is hydrosphere, where the water part comes. So these are the divisions of environment, and these are the places where this type of pollution are causing. So, and fourth part is usually the biosphere, where all of the living organisms are coming. So the pollution caused by this type of chemicals or our negligence or ignorance is causing or affecting in the 3 parts of our environment. The first part is what is called the atmosphere, and second part is called the hydrosphere, and third part is called lithosphere. And on the biosphere, all the living organisms are living and being affected. So discussing about the atmospheric pollution, there is actually the pollution that is happening in the atmosphere. And what are the divisions of atmosphere? Here comes the 6th part of the atmosphere. You can see the first part is the troposphere, then comes the stratosphere, then comes the mesosphere, thermosphere, and finally the exosphere. And you see the troposphere is very close to the Earth's surface, and most of the pollutions are being done here, and all of the living organisms are lying on this place. And the pollution to troposphere can cause a harm to the different types of living organisms in the troposphere. And next comes the most important part, the stratosphere, where the important molecule called ozone that is lying, and mesosphere and thermosphere are very important in our telecommunication system, and finally the exosphere, where all the satellites are being present. But making all the 6 parts of the atmosphere clean and is very important, because the maintenance of these parts will always enhance the survival of all the living organisms on the stratosphere. So even even in the exosphere, there is almost 800 to 3000 kilometers away from us, but still you can see there are a lot of satellites there, and the unwanted satellites and their other particles that can cause a serious threat to people living in the stratosphere. So each and every part of the atmosphere is very important, and making it clean is very important. So but our major thrust is actually here, that is the troposphere, and that is the region where from the Earth's surface, that is 12 to 18 kilometers from the Earth's surface. All the living organisms are living here. So what are the different types of tropospheric pollutions that is happening to us? You can see a lot of pollutions that can affect or that can challenge the existence of human beings or even any type of biological organisms living in the stratosphere. And in our discussion, we just want to take the tropospheric pollution, where the air is there, and what are the serious type of pollutants that is being emitted into the air by human activity. First of all, we can say there is a gaseous type of air pollutants. Which are the important types of gaseous pollutants that is being ejected into the atmosphere? You can see that the most cunning and the most important types of gaseous pollutants are the oxides of sulfur. Here comes the oxides of nitrogen, and finally the oxides of carbon. All of us know that the oxides of sulfur is being emitted as a result of industrial pollution. They are being ejected through the chimneys after several types of industrial reactions and manufacturing. And secondly, you can see there is oxides of nitrogen that is actually being emitted from the different types of vehicles. Even though we are trying to improve the quality of the vehicles by upgrading it to BS6 or like that, or we are trying hard to improve the quality of the petrol also or diesel also. Sometimes we are able to control the oxides of nitrogen in a somewhat a better way. These are being emitted from the vehicular pollution. And finally, the oxides of carbon that everybody know that there is a carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and even the carbon monoxide is very harmful to all the living organisms. And finally, the carbon dioxide that actually causes the greenhouse effect and the global warming. The second problem, the second serious problem regarding the tropospheric pollution is something related with the global warming and greenhouse effect. The global warming is actually as a result of carbon dioxide, oxides of carbon, and the oxides of sulfur, and oxides of nitrogen is somewhat harmful. But still, I would say the global warming can be exclusively dedicated to the oxides of carbon, especially the carbon dioxide. The carbon dioxide, the emission is being increased due to the use of fossil fuels. And you know that the fossil fuel, especially we are actually trying to cut down the use of fossil fuels, and we are trying some alternatives like hydrogen fuel or even the electric type of car we are trying to use or we are trying to implement. But the global warming is a clear scenario. We have to try very hard to improve. Otherwise, that can cause greenhouse effect. Actually, because you know that the greenhouse effect is actually a warming effect due to the presence of carbon dioxide, methane type of greenhouse gases, and even the water vapor, dust particles. All these can contribute to greenhouse effect. And finally, what happens? The temperature of the Earth's surface is being increased. And finally, what is happening? The global warming. Global warming is the temperature of the Earth's surface is increased by 2. Now I think it's from for the last 50 years, the Earth's surface temperature has been increased by 2%, 2 degrees centigrade. So these types of effects are being caused by the human activity, and these type of activities are very harmful or is hazardous to each and every living organisms living on the Earth's surface. So we must have a thorough knowledge about what are the types of pollutants and what are the phenomena behind these type of pollutions, so that we can give or we can contribute to the coming generations. So greenhouse effect, coming to the greenhouse effect, that it's actually due to the greenhouse gases causing temperature increase. And finally, what is happening is global warming. Global warming means that means the melting of icebergs, even the Antarctic and Arctic region. So what happening is the sea level has been increased to a great extent, so that even if in the case of Kerala, what is happening in Kochi, which is a very city or a major city that is lying close to the Arabian Sea. And in places like Chellanam, you can see that due to torrential rain, the sea is being entering into the seashores. So it is creating so much sort of problems to the local inhabitants. So global warming is a serious issue we have to think about, and the youth generation must have to think about how can we avoid this type of global warming. The only possibility is to decrease the emissions of these type of oxides and oxides of carbon. And also we can try for good vegetation, to improve the vegetation or the forest area, forest cover, so that it is possible to improve the absorption of carbon dioxide. Also, we have to reduce our sea pollution, where sea can act as a very good sink for carbon dioxide. All of us know that sea that covers 70% of the Earth's surface is a very good and very important sink for carbon dioxide. So the global warming and greenhouse effect can be mitigated by the humanitarian actions, or like the government. We have to change our government policies also to improve. The basic thing we can do is improve the forest cover, so that we are able to absorb more carbon dioxide. And coming to the tropospheric pollution, one of the major problem regarding this tropospheric pollution is acid rain. Acid rain, as all we know that it's actually the formation of acid in the atmosphere, and it's coming to the Earth's surface by rain. And this is actually due to the presence of these gaseous air pollutants like oxides of sulfur and oxides of nitrogen. And you know that in the atmosphere it is possible to convert oxides of sulfur to sulfuric acid, and again the oxides of nitrogen is being converted to nitric acid. And what happens is, due to the presence of this acid, what happens is the pH of the rain is being decreased, and all of us know that the pH of the common rain is ranging between 6.5 to 7.5. So after the production of this type of acids, it is being poured as acid rain. So the pH of the rain has been decreased to 3.5 to 5.5, and this acid rain is highly harmful to all the concrete sculptures and also historic monuments, and also even to the vegetation. What happening is the presence of acid which will destroy gradually the constructions and even the vegetation to a great extent. And even a classic example for the destruction of acid rain, that is the 7 wonders of the world, which Taj Mahal is one of the greatest wonder of the world, is being threatened heavily by the presence of acid rain. So whatever we can do to control the emission of oxides of sulfur and oxides of nitrogen is that we have to control the acid rain. Then only we are able to control. First of all, we have to control the emission of oxides of sulfur and oxides of nitrogen. Then only we are able to control the emission or the pouring of the acid rain. So the major problem regarding the emission of oxides of sulfur and nitrogen is the use of fossil fuels. And all of us know that the fossil fuel, we had to find an alternative for these type of fossil fuels. We are having different types of gas as fuels, CNG and LPG. All these are hydrocarbons still, but we are lacking different types of infrastructure for the supply of or the distribution of gases. So first of all, we have to improve our infrastructure for the supply of gases to household or even to vehicles. We are able to mitigate some extent of this type of emissions of oxides of sulfur and oxides of nitrogen. And the next important pollutant is the particulate pollutants. They are actually particles. So they are actually particles that ranges from the nano-sized to micro-sized particles. So they are actually roaming around everywhere in our atmosphere. So that can cause serious threat to humans and causing a lot of lung diseases and even to vegetations that causing or the stopping photosynthesis. So this type of particulate pollutants are of great, it poses serious health hazards and even to humans and also to the trees and other vegetations. So we have to control particulate pollutants even by using a very good quality of chimneys or controlling radiators, and also by avoiding unwanted type of firing of woods or any other type of pollutants. So this is the only way we are able to control the particulate pollutants. And next important air pollutant or the phenomena or the polluting phenomena, environmental phenomena, is the smoke. Smoke can be easily be defined as smoke plus fog. It's actually basically there are two types of smoke that all we know. That first one is the London smoke or the classical smoke, and the other one is the photochemical smoke. And the London smoke, as all we know, that is actually due to the presence of oxides of sulfur. And the other one where you can see it is London smoke because it is highly industrialized area, because of the oxides of sulfur emitted from the industries. And next one is the photochemical smoke, and is found in Los Angeles, I think. And that is actually due to the presence of oxides of sulfur in the presence of sunlight, UV, causing big type of smoke. And these type of smokes, two types of smokes, are highly hazardous to each and every humans and other organisms in the environment. So we have to control. If you want to control this type of pollution, we have to be very careful about dealing with the sources. So we have to control the emissions of oxides of sulfur, nitrogen, and even the oxides of carbon, so that we are able to control the pollution that is what is happening in the troposphere. These are the important types of pollution that is happening in the troposphere. Next, we know the next division is the stratospheric division, where the ozone is present, and ozone is one of the most important molecule that is found in the stratospheric region. When it comes to the surface level, it can create a lot of havoc in us, but it has to be kept in the stratosphere so that we will be able to have a lot of advantages from this O3 molecule. It's a very golden molecule, and it's actually present in the stratosphere. and it's actually controlling the incoming of UV rays from sun. And the ozone concentration is present in the stratosphere using an equilibrium. This is a forward reaction and it's a backward reaction, and the forward reaction is being facilitated with the absorbance of UV, and the O3 is being thermodynamically unstable. Instantly we'll go back to O2 and O. So this is the reaction, forward reaction, backward reaction that we know, and the forward reaction is being facilitated using UV, and backward reaction is easily facilitated because of it is highly thermodynamically unstable. So you can see that this equilibrium has to be kept intact, because otherwise the concentration of O3 will be very low in the stratosphere region, and what will happen is the UV rays from the sun can easily reach the Earth's surface, thereby causing a serious health hazards to all the living organisms, even to plants and other trees. So this equilibrium has to be kept constant, but still we are seeing a ozone hole in the over the Antarctic and Arctic regions. Actually, what actually is happening is, this is the reaction. You can see this is the presence of Cl dot. Actually, there is a free radical, chlorine radical, which is very highly reactive, and that is being emitted into the atmosphere through freons. That means we are using refrigerators, and there comes the freons. That is actually a coolant, and due to the presence of CFCs, that is chlorofluorocarbons, that is a freons. The Cl is being emitted into the atmosphere, and it's readily converted into Cl dot by the presence of sunlight, and this Cl dot is highly active, which will highly convert O3 into O2 and O. So what happens is, there will be a continuous destruction of O3 will happen due to the presence of this Cl dot. So this will causes the concentration of ozone to a very low concentration, and what will happen is we will see the ozone hole on the Antarctic and Arctic regions. So what will happen is the sunlight can easily reach through this hole as the concentration is very low. They will directly reach into the on the Antarctic and Arctic region, and what will happen is that will facilitate the global warming by the global warming, and also by the icebergs are being easily melted down, so that what happens is the sea level is being raised. So we have to be very keen about controlling the emission of Cl dot in the into the atmosphere. So we have to the chemistry people can give an alternative for that. We can either replace the Cl freons by using a suitable gas, or less problematic gas. So the study of environmental science means we have the environmental chemistry people can do a very lot thing in solving the different problems in environmental sciences or environmental issues. They can be solved easily through environmental chemist and the people loving chemistry. So this is one of the most important pollution that is happening in the ozone in the stratospheric region. Next comes the next portion of the environment. First of all, we have discussed about the atmosphere. That is actually the air part. Now comes the water pollution. You can water is one of the most important substance on the surface or on the earth that supports life. Even you have thousands have lived without love, but no one can live without water. There is actually a famous British poet who was noted like this, that will give the importance of water and all that, but we have to conserve the quality and parameters of water so that we can live peacefully on the surface of earth. So what is actually water pollution? We can define like this. Water pollution is something occurs when harmful substances or chemicals, here comes the chemicals. So we can the chemistry people can give some scientific approach, or we can have some ideas that will mitigate the water pollution. These are chemicals or even microorganisms. They can also contaminate the water, so that can be distributed along the water bodies. 70% of the surface is being covered by water, and each and every part of the water is being, or the quality of the water is being degraded due to the presence of any chemical, or due to the presence of microorganisms like E. coli, so that the quality of the water is being degraded, so that what is finally happening is it will rendering it toxic to the humans or even to the environment. You can see the dark color of the water here. So the controlling of water pollution is very important for the survival of humans and all the other living organisms on the earth's surface. So it is a very important strategy we have to make to solve or to make the environment more greener. You can see that 70% of the earth is covered by water, so you can find it in the even in the groundwater. So the pollution on the groundwater is also hazardous to us, because the water on the groundwater can reach surface water by through different processes. So the ocean is one of the most important sources of water. So here also, if the pollution is happening, that means it can create a threat to all of us. Even surface water is very clear. Direct pollution can cause the pollution on the surface, and the agriculture practices. We are using a lot of pesticides or chemicals for a better agriculture result. So all these chemicals and whatever items we are using on the environment as being thrown into the water, finally reaching the water, so that it can actually cause a serious threat to the plants and living organisms on the water, and finally that can cause a serious threat to humans living on here. You can see when we are discussing about water pollution, there is a 2 point is there, that is a point source and non-point source. There is one of the most important classification of water pollution, because point solution source means the pollution to water is basically from one source. For example, if we are taking a nuclear plant like Kollam, the thermal pollution is actually happening only from that Kollam plant. So the source, water pollution source is one. So that is what we are calling. It's called point source. And next important classification is non-point source, where I think most of the pollution to water is happening through this process, because non-point solution source means it's actually a collection of different sources that is causing pollution to the water. So in our cases, or in our country, India or in Kerala, you can see that different types of sources are there. That is actually coming closer or taking collectively. We are taking collectively, so that it is actually causing pollution to the water bodies. So this is important non-pollutant point source. Next, you can see that this is the transboundary pollution, water pollution. It's actually the pollution is made by one country and is being affected by the other country. So one country is creating the water pollution, and the other one is affected by it. That is one of the important classification of water pollution. So wherever the water is present, if there is some sort of pollution is there, you can call it as a pollution of water. Radioactive substances, which is one of the most important polluting substances available now. And again, you can see sewage and wastewater. It's one of the serious threat in the case of urban places. There are series of mismanagement in the case of sewage and wastewater management. So what is happening is the direct threat is to the water bodies. The water bodies are being polluted by the without management of the pollutants, and they are being leached through soil, and finally they will reach the water. So this is what is happening to the water after pollution, different types of pollution. Even though we know about the oil pollution, oil spills are there. We know that all the fossil fuels or fossil crude oils are being transported from the one country to another through ocean, through the seaway, international seaway. Whenever an accident happens and it causes a serious threat to the ocean, and a large part of the ocean is being affected due to the presence of this oil, especially the fossil fuels. And the chemistry people here also can give an alternative or give an scientific way to solve it. They can use different types of materials for the absorption of this soil. Sometimes the biology people can also do, because you know that there are microbes that are able to absorb this oil. So whatever our abilities or ways there are to create our water cleaner, we have to use all the possibilities, so that we have to keep our water clean. Only if we are using it in a correct way, our water will be cleaner. So these are the different types of pollutions, water pollutions that is happening to us. Now we are going to discuss about what are the causes for water pollution. You can see that the pathogens, the organic waste and the chemical pollutants, which are the major causes for water pollution. And or even the pathogens, the microorganisms, that means pathogens means microorganisms, and organic waste like the waste from plants and trees, and the chemical pollutants. All these can cause the water pollution. So when considering the quality of the water, we have a lot of parameters like the smell, taste, the color of the water are very important. So whenever the presence of these pathogens or organic waste or chemicals that will cause there's a decline in the water quality, we have to use the science, or the chemistry people can give an alternative or for cleaning of water. So the presence, or even the presence of heavy metals or fluorides, nitrates, sulfates and other metals that can cause the quality of the water. So the presence of all these type of things, especially pathogens and organic waste, and even the presence of chemicals, that will directly decline the quality of the water. So these are the basic causes for water pollution. The next important part or division of our environment is actually the soil part. That is actually the lithosphere part. You can see that the soil pollution, soil is a very important part of our environment, where the soil is present. So the presence of unwanted things and chemicals in the soil can cause a decline in the quality of the soil. The quality of the soil is very important. As you all we know that the decline in quality of soil can cause a decline in the growth rate of trees and plants. That will directly affect the crop efficiency of our agriculture. And finally, that will be affected by all the humans in the earth surface. So the soil pollution can be defined. We can define soil pollution like this. It is actually the presence of toxic chemicals in soil that is in a high concentration that will cause a risk to humans or any ecosystem or that is lying on the earth's surface. So the presence of unwanted types of chemicals and other things in the earth's surface that will cause the soil pollution. So we'll try to avoid the presence of this type of toxic metals on the surface of the earth. Now come to see what are the types of soil pollution. Already we have discussed that the presence of some type of particulate matters and biological agents, especially the agriculture practices or radioactive pollutants, urban waste, industrial waste, that can cause the quality of the soil. These are the important agents that can cause or can decline the quality of the soil. We have discussed about the different types of pollutions that is happening in air, soil and water. We have as a chemistry person, we have to have a plan for the exact management of or the conservation of our environment. So here comes the solution for our environment pollution. That can be well explained by a chemist. You can see that this is one of the major and important strategy that is available for to control or to mitigate the environment pollution. That is the implementation of green protocol or the implementation of green chemistry. The idea of green chemistry is very important, and that is actually working on the basic 12 principles that you can see here. The first one is the pollution prevention, and actually we have to prevent the pollution. First of all, that must be our strategy. And second one is the atom economy. Atom economy actually deals with the improvement in the efficiency by using different types of ways that you can select. And third one is the using of less hazardous type of synthesis methods. That is actually the third one. And fourth one is the design of safer chemicals. And the fifth one is the safer solvents. We have to use the safer solvents. As all we know, the organic solvents are highly hazardous and they can be carcinogenic. But we have to replace it with, it's possible to use liquid carbon dioxide like that. You have to use safer solvents, and we have to design for energy efficiency. Our idea must be more energy efficient. We have to design for that. And seventh one is the use of renewable energy sources. That nowadays we are actually using for that. We are trying hard for that. The R&D department is trying very hard for that. You know, the use of hydrogen fuels and EVs that we are trying very hard for using. And we can use renewable energy sources like solar or tidal or wind type we can use. And eighth one is the reduction in derivatives, so that we are able to we can reduce the emission into the atmosphere. So, ninth one is the catalysis. Use of catalysis is one of the most important thing, so that we can use, we can save our time and we can improve our production. And 10th one is the design for degradation. Even if we are unable to control the pollutants, we have to have a strategy for its degradation. That is what the 10th idea for green chemistry. And 11th one is the real-time analysis. Analysis is very important. We have to have a very strong analysis, so that we are able to manage it correctly. And the final one, 12th one, that is what is called the inherently safer chemistry for accident prevention. That is actually the 12th pillar of green chemistry, and all these 12 pillars can be explained well, but we have to follow these 12 principles. If we are able to follow these 12 principles, we are able to save our environment in a much better manner. Next is actually the important major international initiatives, and all the governments of different world, and that means the government in that is actually in the different countries are very aware of the problem of environment. So we are continuously engaging or indulging in making protocols to save our environment. These are some of the most important protocols between countries that is made internationally. You can see the Geneva Convention that's being made in 1979. That is actually for the air pollution. And next one is Ramsar Convention, that is implemented in 1971. That's exclusively for wetlands. And all of us know that wetland is very important ecological places where a lot of living organisms are there. We have to control, we have to save the wetlands. That is a very important strategic move made by the different countries. And most important thing, that is the climate change that we are facing seriously, a serious threat from the environment because of our own activities. So we have to control or we have to stop this climate change, and we have to also control the ozone depletion, and that is why you can see a lot of conventions or protocols or agreements, international agreements are being done. You can see UNFCCC that is being framed in 1992, and this is a Kyoto Protocol in 1997. There is a Paris Agreement in 2015. There the Vienna Convention that is for ozone that is being signed in 1985, and Montreal Protocol in 1987. All these things, all these protocols are made for controlling the environmental climate change, and also for ozone depletions. And next one is for the soil. This is one of the important convention that is made by UN. And you can see it is made done by 1994. And for waste, you can see in 1989 there is a Basel Convention is there. So these are some of the important international initiatives that has been taken by the major countries and also by the UN for the better environmental future, that is for better greener environment, and also for our future generations. All these are the important international protocols. Next, in our country also there are strict laws. There are strict laws that has been implemented. We are having the National Environment Policy, and we are also having National Green Tribunal, and also the Ministry MOEF, that is the environmental for controlling the environmental activities in our country. So there are a lot of laws, constitutional provisions, and also agencies, bodies are in India to help or to control or to manage different activities that is happening in the country for a better future. So these are examples for that. These are some of the government initiatives that all we know. The central government has implemented the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan campaign for a cleaner or better environment, you can see, and also in all colleges or all government institutions we are celebrating World Ozone Day on September 19, and also we are celebrating World Environment Day on every June 5th. So these are some of the government initiatives to disseminate, to create an idea about the nature love, and to create a love towards the environment, and that will also create the environmental love and the importance of environmental protection. So these are some of the initiatives taken by the government and also by the education institutions. So all this has been done, as all of us know that, or the government and each and every bodies are very aware that without the proper management or without the conservation of our environment, we will not be, we cannot survive here for a very long time. So what we have to do is, we have to have a basic idea regarding different types of pollutions, and we must have to stop that initiatives that will accelerate the environmental pollution, or we have to start loving our environment. So we have the the people, the younger people must have some idea regarding the environment. They have to love. We have to disseminate the idea of environmental love so that the coming generations will not be struggled and they will be living in a peaceful way. So this is what I just want to say. I just want to give an introduction to environmental chemistry, and I hope you enjoy and you got some idea regarding environmental chemistry. Thank you.